Nagar Mary, a 35-year-old woman, was busy feeding her pets when her son walked from his room and greeted her. She was shocked that she dropped the seaweed with her. Paco was attempting to persuade his mother that she did not have to go through so much stress merely in the morning. His mother, Mary, was concerned that Kirataka would be picked on if his bentos were too bland. But he was attempting to convince her that her bentos were the best in the world. Kirataka was preparing for school, giving his mother cause to be confident. His mother was busy packing his lunch for school. Kirataka was often targeted and bullied by his classmates. They tied him with an instrument around his waist and placed bets on him. When one of them won, he promised to treat his other friends who were present. Some of them were trying to get sweets, but a fight was about to break out. Ajiki, who was heavier among them, thought they were calling him fat, but Shirkimi clarified that it wasn't the case. Tsuyoshi intervened, warning that he would slap them all if they started fighting. Meanwhile, Tsubasa already sold the picture of the situation and was laughing around. Tsuyoshi approached Kirataka and attacked him because he stained his shoe, which made him furious. He demanded to know if Kirataka realized how much the shoe cost. Tsuyoshi was said to be someone who gets mad easily. And during this moment, Okaya Nozomu, who was currently in his second year of middle school, moved close to Tsuyoshi as he was reminded of him telling him about how he warned him not to lose his temper anyhow. But Tsuyoshi was trying to explain that he just lost his cool, and this made him be warned that the next time he tried such a thing, they wouldn't be friends anymore. Kirataka's mother had prepared bentos for him, but Okaya knocked them to the ground, claiming they were sticky and dirty. He even stepped on them. Soon, cockroaches gathered around the spilled bentos. Okaya approached Kirataka, explaining that a cockroach lays around 20 eggs and can lay eggs about 19 times in its lifespan, totaling about 180 eggs per cockroach. The newborn cockroaches continue the cycle. He warned Kirataka that over time, his stomach would fill with roaches if he ingested them, and they would eventually crawl out of his body, making him the mama of the cockroaches. Kirataka was being forced to eat the bentos filled with cockroaches, and the remainder was dumped on the ground. After a while, the bullies left, and Kirataka was left with no choice but to eat the remaining bentos as the bullies returned home. One of them mentioned that Kirataka was almost tamed, and they seemed happy because they will be able to use him for the next 5 years since their middle school and high school are integrated. Even if they leave him alone, he will not be a threat or an enemy to them. But then Okaya could remember when they were bullying a student, as they were trying to hang him by placing a bet with it. But then when the student being bullied was about to get killed, Kirataka rushed in to save him, but he was told to stay out of it, making the game ruined. This made Kirataka ask if he wanted to take the student place, and this was why he commented that he never liked the look in Kaka's eyes. Kirataka came back home from school, and as he entered, his mother surprised him by greeting him with a birthday wish as he turned 14 years old that day. When he entered, his mother noticed the wound on his face as she asked what happened to him, of which Kirataka mentioned that he tripped at school. But as a caring mother, she was making it known to him that the wound would get infected, which made her volunteer to help him clean it. Kirataka was trying to tell his mother that it was okay, but she refused to listen to him, and he was left with no choice but to accept. When his mother was helping him with treating his wound, she mentioned that she had wanted to be a school nurse in the past. Karika asked why she never became one. Then she mentioned that she was bullied in school, since she was an orphan and had no one to rely on. The school nurse was the only person who allowed her to be there and then gave her a place where she belonged, which is why she had the qualification to be a nursing teacher. Kirataka asked his mother why she gave it up because it was her dream, but she answered that it was because she had received a family member that she wanted to preserve above all else, which inspired Kirataka to protect his mother's smile. Kirataka's mother called her husband as she was telling him that Kirataka was hiding something, but she was told that Kirataka was now in middle school and he would need some privacy. His mother was still worried since she could feel that there was something wrong. He was forcing himself to be a good kid, but her husband was telling her that she was being too overprotective. Kira's father, Najira Taikairu, was an inspector, and the moment he was discussing with his wife, his colleague was telling him that their target was on the move. He then hung up the call. Kirataka was scrolling through his phone as he was thinking about his mother since he knew that she would storm to his school if she found out about what happened to him in school, which he considered to be a dangerous situation. Suddenly, he saw a notification that Kawis sent him a video, and as he opened the message, he clicked on the video. He saw a naked video of his mother, but he recognized that it was not her voice. He mistook it for a phony video, and he was urged to come to the observatory while he went to check on his mother to see if she was sleeping. She pretended to go out before he did. She was quite anxious about him. He then went to see the student who provided him the video at the observatory, and they were astonished to see him there since Okaya recalled seeing Kirataka's mother during the class observation day. She looked so timid, as he felt like he could have a nice time with her even though her face was plain. Shirkimi was quite jealous as she mentioned that she was much better than Kirataka's mother. This made Kirataka angry as he told them all to keep shut, but then Okaya told him to stop the look in the eyes as he asked when he will really going to learn his place. This made Kirataka fall on his knees, and Okaya didn't stop there but told him to upload the video by himself. Kirataka refused to do it. Then Okaya changed his mind and told him that he would delete the video if Kirataka jumped off the cliff. When Kirataka feared his death, Okaya told him that he wouldn't since he'd only have a few fractured bones. Kirataka was told to jump, but to leave his shoes behind. He then threatened to upload the footage if he didn't leap off the cliff in 3 seconds. But, as he counted, Kirataka had no choice but to jump. Meanwhile, his mother was concerned. So, she followed him out. She got a signal that he was on the mountainside. As she then saw that he had broken his leg and she was trying to reach him, he was run over by a truck and all his parts were busted around the road. His mother ran in the direction where he was as all she could see was her son's intestine. As the bullies saw this, they were scared since they never wanted to get arrested just because of him. As they planned to escape, Okaya seemed not to be scared, which was a surprise to them. Okaya then gets upset that he lets Kirataka win and escape. During that moment, Kirataka's mother Mary was really in pain of losing her son. After the incident, Mary, Kirataka's mother, was really down. Her husband came to meet her and mentioned that they found a note in Kirataka's shoe with the observatory, which was why it was considered and concluded to be a suicide. But Mary refused as she mentioned that they were the ones who killed him, and Nagar, her husband, apologized for not being able to protect him. He further stated that he had compared the handwriting on the will discovered at the observatory, which was supposed to be written by the victim himself. The drive recorder was also reported to capture Kirataka being ran over by a lorry while attempting suicide. Also, Kirataka's tweet was examined in the last few days and was full of terrible stuff, prompting Nagar's co-worker to remark that people on the internet were suggesting it was a case of abuse. Maria was blaming herself for not being able to realize it sooner, as she was wondering if Kirataka hurt himself because she was trying to love him. This made her feel guilty and she felt like cutting herself with the knife. But then she heard a drop of something. She saw Kirataka's diary while going to her room to see what had dropped. In it, he described being humiliated and abused, including being beaten, having his swimwear striped, and being pushed into the pool. Kirataka also mentioned in his diary that he had kept all the evidence in a USB file in his drawer. As his mother opened it, she saw the USB and inserted it into a personal computer to check out what was there. She could see the videos of when Kirataka was being bullied and forced to do things out of his will, from writing sorry 50 times to ripping off his clothes and some other ones. This was when Mary understood that Kirataka was being forced to write the suicide note. Kirataka described his bullies as demons. He listed them one by one and mentioned in the USB that Okaya Nozomu was the ringleader, along with others such as Kanugawa, Shirkimi, Ajiki, and Kawis. Mary saw that Kirataka was trying to gather some evidence against Okaya and added that he wished the bullying would stop. Mary saw the video of Kirataka being forced to eat trash, and seeing this, Mary thought that mere revenge was not enough, and all they deserved was judgment. 2 years later, a new school nurse was being employed at the school. They were all commenting that she was super pretty, as they thought she was living abroad until recently. One of the students mentioned that she was not repulsive when he was telling her about his relationship issue. The school nurse was also regarded as a godlike teacher, making them give her the name Maria of the nurse office. A student was asking Maria if it was a good idea to be a virgin as a high school student, but Maria, the school nurse, was trying to understand why the student was asking such a question. As the conversation went on, A student came in claiming he was not feeling fine as he was feeling quite feverish. As Maria heard this, she went ahead to attend to the student as she could see he was burning up, making her ask if he would like to lie down on the bed. But the female student that was with her previously wanted Maria to answer her question, but she told her not to talk about it anymore. As Maria focused on treating the student, Okaya showed up and asked for a moment with Maria. He was welcomed to the place, prompting the female student present to inquire if she should excuse herself. Okaya informed her that it wasn't essential because there wasn't anything particularly important. Maria asked Okaya about the problem, and he showed her a poster dedicated to the cause of Anti-Bullying Week, which the Student Council had created. He indicated a desire to place one in the infirmary as well. Maria agreed, telling him to paste it where everyone could see. As he was pasting the poster, Maria complimented Okaya, stating that he was admirable because of his apparent passion for student council activities. However, Okaya revealed that he was simply doing it because he liked to. Maria then dramatically changed the topic and said that she had heard that Aya wanted to be a psychiatrist like his father, a vocation she thought would rescue people's hearts. Okaya said that he wanted to follow in his father's footsteps because the scars on his heart were not apparent at all. This made Maria wonder if he resembled his mother in that way. When Okaya heard this, he asked Maria if she knew his mother, and she said she had met her before. She mentioned that she used to hear his mother refer to Okaya as Nozomu-san. However, Okaya found this embarrassing, realizing that Maria truly knew him. Maria then remarked that the nurse and the infirmary knew everything. 2 years ago, Mary, who was Kirataka's mother, began by divorcing her husband. She then proceeded to cut off contact with her workplace and friends, reverting back to her maiden name in court. Finally, she underwent full-body plastic surgery to completely change her appearance. With that, infiltrating the school was the easiest step of them all. The school principal forced her to suck his bone and then forced her to swallow his juice, but as she was done, Maria went to the restroom to wash her throat and clean up, and the only step left was the judgment of them all. Okaya was busy bullying a female student as she apologized for not bringing the exact amount of money, explaining that she couldn't work at her part-time job because of cram school. She could only give 20,000 yen that month. When Okaya heard this, he kicked her in the stomach and threatened her with a shoplifting video he had, asking that she bring 30,000 yen every month. The situation escalated when the female student threw up. Maria was passing by that place and was shocked by what was happening. Okaya falsely claimed that Yajima, the female student, had vomited and he was trying to comfort her. However, Yajima was being threatened by him not to reveal the truth. Maria offered assistance, inviting Yajima to the infirmary, but Yajima declined, fearing the repercussions of speaking out. Maria calmed Yajima, emphasizing that the clinic provided a safe environment for students like her. Meanwhile, Kawase questioned if Maria was unaware of the circumstances. Maria confiscated Kawase's phone as she left, citing school rules. Shirkimi warned Kawase to be discreet, since they could suffer severe repercussions if detected. Kawase expressed comfort that Nugger's death from 2 years ago remained unknown. His relief was short-lived, though, when Okaya came. Okaya expressed to unease, recalling Kirataka's defiant demeanor. Kawase tried to make amends by giving Aya a present, but then quickly left, prompting others to note that Kawase had triggered Okaya's sensitive memories. Kawase could remember the days when he does bully Nagar, and his friend do ask if he never gets bored with bullying Nagar, but he would not listen as he will continue to threaten Najira that he will continue to confiscate his pocket money if he refused to steal from his parents. When Kirataka was released back then, Kawase was mentioning that he will give Okaya some tribute, but Kawase made it clear to him that even if he paid tribute to Okaya since he won't care about him. And this made Kawase feel embarrassed by Kirataka even though he was dead. Maria took in Kawase's phone, and she received a mail from a student who asked her what to do to make her boyfriend make use of protection next time they want to have a nice time, because if she tells him that she never wanted to have a nice time with him without protection, he gets angry. But Maria replied to the mail, making it clear to the female student that such an act was a criminal offense since her boyfriend make use of protection next time they want to have a nice time. After replying to the mail, Maria hacked into Kawase's phone and she could see all the criminal offense Kais has committed, which was mainly taking a sexually explicit shot of an individual to be used as blackmailing material to conduct extortion, and his targets were said to be those students who don't look like they would retaliate. As he does, and a female student about to shiplify Taka's picture and claiming that she would do her best. Though all of this, Maria didn't forget about what she has gone through. She still thinks about his son and cries in the corner. She tries to feel, and his son's angel is still stay with her. Kawis was busy counting and checking out the money that Yajima brought to him, about which he was complaining. Suddenly a message was sent to him, and as he opened it and checked it out, he was really shocked to see the content. The day after, when Kawis was heading to school, and he was wondering who sent the message to him, but he never knew who took his video. 2 videos were sent to him. The first was his masturbation video that was taken from hacking his phone camera, and the second was the one of Kirataka's, which he was meant to delete as this video was sent a blackmail message. And not only that, he was asked to pay 3 million yen, or else the video would be uploaded, but Kawis was bothered, because there was no way he could pay 3 million yen since he had used up all the money with him. He was sure that if he did not pay up the money, his life would be over. As he was wandering about in the school, he overheard some students planning on going out, and he could see some female students also talking about the beautiful view of a certain tree. He then took a photo of their pants, claiming he would put them to good use. As Kawis was checking out the pictures he took, suddenly a student walked up to him and then snatched his phone, telling him that he was not permitted to use his phone in the school. He was startled. The one who snatched his phone checked out what he was doing as he commented that Ka knew how to make money well. Kawis was then asked if he would like to hang out after school, but he refused and added that he never wanted to be abandoned. Maria was in her office busy watching all that was happening, but then she removed the hacking app that she installed when she confiscated his phone remotely, and the 3 million yen she requested was just a bluff, since all she wanted was for him to experience the same pain as his victim. The amount of evidence Ka left on his phone can be cherry-picked, and if Maria had wanted to give Ka a social death, she would have just uploaded the videos right away, but that would just amount to mere revenge. This made her start her condemnation right away. As Maria was checking out the window and observing what was going on, a female student came in, but then she asked Maria if she was interrupting her, but Maria cleared that she was not. Maria laid the student on the bed so she could have some rest. As the student was lying down, Maria was telling her that students like her tend to push themselves too hard, but then Yajima was surprised that Maria could know of such things, which made Maria mention that the nurse at the infirmary tends to know more than people think, which was why she was telling Yajima that she could discuss anything with her. As Yajima heard this, she told Maria about the shoplifting attempt, but pretended that she was talking about one of her friends, and then she explained that her friend was caught by a bad person and then was made to do brutal things. Yajima added that her friends put up with it because she thought she was reaping what she sowed. She then asked for advice, and as advice, Maria told her that there was no need to give in, but if it was getting too much she could run to her, as she promised to protect her at all costs. As Maria said this, Yajima could not hold back her tears as she felt pain. Kawis was wandering in the school. When wandering, he was thinking about who the culprit was within them. He saw Yajima, as he called her, and told her that he was feeling kind of irritated at that moment, and he needed her to comfort him, but as Yajima remembered what Maria told her regarding that fact, that if it is too much she could run to her, and this made her run and try escaping from him. This was a surprise to him, since he knew that Yajima would always tremble and fear on the spot. This made him wonder why she was running, but this made him suspect Yajima as the culprit, as he then took her to his place as he went ahead to torture her, but then he could see that his videos are not on her phone. He asked her what happened to the video in anger, but Yajima was trying to tell him that she knew nothing about what he was talking about, but still Kawis would not believe this, since he considered Yajima as the only person who hates him so much. But to force Yajima to talk, he threatened her that he would spread her video in addition with the shoplifting video as well, as he was trying to tell Yajima that everything about her will be ruined, but Yajima was not bothered. She mentioned that she had been ruined, which was why she had been putting up with what Ka had been doing, making her tell him to get out of her life. Kawis buried her face inside the water and kept on torturing her as he told her that he could go back to how things were before, but then suddenly Kawis was pulled by Maria, which was a great surprise to him, but he thought he was dreaming since he was aware that Yajima would go against him, and also that Maria wouldn't make such an entrance. But Yajima, on the other hand, was surprised at what happened, as she never knew what went wrong. Kawis was being chained as Maria then showed up, and then welcomed him to the penitentiary. She then poured water on him and forced him to comment that Maria was playing in a quite dangerous way with him. Kawis was still shocked to see Maria, as he thought it was all some kind of prank. He asked if it was someone who asked her to do such things, as he added that even if she was nice to everyone, she should not accept the request to do something like that. But he noticed the look in her eyes as he got to see that Maria was really serious about this, making him ask why she was doing it all. Maria told him that it was for punishment since he had stolen something important from other people, which was the reason why she would steal his oxygen. But then Ka was trying to explain to himself that it was a misunderstanding since he thought Yajima must have reported him that he was bullying her. Kawis added that Yajima would have made a bigger deal if she did not like the way she was being harassed, even though Kawis was aware that what he had done was way too much, and the fact that Yajima did not fight back was evidence that it was not a big deal. But then he was shunned by Maria as she said that where they are was a penitentiary, and there is a path for redemption. If only he could enter the number that represents the greatest crime he had committed, he would be set free from the lock chain on his hand, and when he was able to he could escape from the ceiling or offer his blood as penance. Kawis was wondering what his greatest sin was since he was sure that Maria never wanted him to live. Initially Kas was wondering what his greatest sin was, thinking if it was Heimer or blackmailing. But still he never understood what the selection of numbers was, but he planned to try every single combination so he could understand it, but before he knew it the level of water was already at his HP, and this made him beg Maria to save her, but she never responded, making Kawis feel horrible as he had always wanted to hang out with his friends a little more. But then he suddenly remembered Nagar Kirataka, and as he checked the coded he needed to insert, he got to know that it was the Kaka's death anniversary. But then Ka was wondering how Maria got to know about Nagar, but all he was after was how he will be able to escape, since he knew that if he was able to escape, there is no way he would have trouble handling Maria. But he never remembered when Nagar died, since it was not during some holiday, and before he knew it the water already filled him up, and as he looked straight at Maria he could see her smiling. But then Ka's thought of cutting his own hand away that was chained so he could escape, and as he tried to, Ka could not cut his own hand, and he did not also know the date Nagar died, and this made Maria tell him that he would have to die then, but he mentioned that he did not want that either, as he then drowned in the water. Kawis had no choice but to cut his hand since he decided to live, as he was thinking that he was being acknowledged by Alea and wanted to go to the university to enjoy his life. But the more he tried cutting his hand, the more difficult it was since his bone was strong, but then his vision was getting blurry as he then gave up the ghosts. After this, Maria extracted the water as she then unlocked the chain, as she mentioned that his greatest sin was not driving Kirataka to death, but the fact that he was born, as she then pierced him and burned him to death. But at some point, she remembered the memory she had with her son and husband. This made her feel bad as he commented that she had 4 more to go. At the school premises, the students were talking about Kawis, who was said to have not been in school for over 2 weeks, and the police were on the case, making them wonder if there would be an article about it on the net. Okaya had been trying to reach Kawis, but he could not as Nagar Kirataka's father approached him. He then introduced himself as a detective from the Public Safety Department and added that he would like to speak to him about the disappearance of Kawis. Kirataka's father made it clear to Okaya that the school said there was nothing unusual going on with him, and that was also a reason why they never knew anything about his disappearance. Then Aya bowed to Kirataka's father, telling him that he was their only hope, but he reassured him that there was nothing to worry about since it was his job. Kirataka's father told Okaya that they were the classmates of his son, which was also a reason why he could not just see the case as something simple. Okaya asked what his son's name was, and he told him that it was Nagar Kirataka. As Okaya heard this, he commented that Kirataka's death was truly an unfortunate incident, which made the detective commend that Okaya was really kind, and add that he was happy that Okaya could remember his son. He also mentioned that he never had the chance to have a conversation about his son since he divorced his wife. Okaya's friends were all waiting for him in a restaurant, but they had all grown fed up with waiting as they made an order for something to eat. One of them complained that it was salty, which made the waiter go ahead and get a replacement. Kanukawa was trying to caution Ajiki and Shirkimi, as he also mentioned that Kawis, their friend, went missing, but they seemed not to be bothered at all. Shirkimi was thinking about a birthday present that she could get for Okaya, but as they were discussing, Shirkimi stood up suddenly as she rushed out. She was asked where she was heading, and she mentioned that she wanted to go fishing. Shirkimi was seen in a hotel room with a guy. The guy was telling her that it was his first time getting hooked up with such a pretty girl. He also said that when he was first matched with Shurkimi, he thought she was a bad girl, but Shurkimi was telling him that she was a good girl, of which the guy confirmed. Since she did not order the most expensive menu during meals or fiddle with her phone when they talked, the way Shimi was behaving made the guy think of her as someone really kind. And Shimi also confirmed that the guy had been suffering in a terrible relationship, which made the guy cry. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, which made Shurkimi said it will be the room service, but as the guy went ahead to get the door, he saw some hoodlums, which he was surprised to see as he was asked if he was planning to have sex with an high school student like Shurkimi. All that happened was Shiki's plan, as she later told the guy with her that she baited him since he looked so easy, and she then mentioned that she would be removing 1,000,000,000 yen from him since he had fun with her. Shurkimi was making an online transaction with the money she collected from the guy as she was having a bath, but she couldn't wait to have the dress she ordered, and was imagining Okaya telling her that the outfit really suits her and looks good on her. Kawa's homeroom teacher came to meet Maria as she asked her if he confided in her and asked her for counseling if he was to run away from home, but then Maria apologized since she could be of help, but the homeroom teacher was claiming that it was his fault, since he failed to pay much attention to him. And as the homeroom teacher was saying this, Maria was telling him that Kawas will definitely come back. The homeroom teacher mentioned that Maria was getting really worried about something. Maria changed the topic, mentioning a rumor about Shurkimi barging into their base. She accused her friends of snitching about her. She explained that her homeroom teacher, Atsuki, had confronted her about someone seeing her with a man at Love Street Hotel. Shurkimi suspected her friends of being the ones who snitched, but Tsuyoshi dismissed her suspicions. Shurkimi threatened to end the friendship if they told Okaya about it. Meanwhile, Maria observed from a distance, planning to exploit the situation to create a rift between Shurkimi and her friends. Maria had conducted an investigation and knew about Shikimi's involvement in Badger games for pocket money. She believed pressuring Shurkimi and confronting her with her homeroom teacher would make her suspicious of her friends, causing a rift similar to what had been done to Kirataka in the past. Kirataka had been framed for taking Shik's gym clothes, causing him to feel isolated. Despite Maria's assurance that this loneliness would affect Shurkimi similarly, Araya gathered his friends to discuss the sudden disappearance of the past 3 weeks. Kanukawa made it clear that Kawas had no friends other than them, but Shurkimi, who seemed less concerned, mentioned that there was a probability that Kawas went on a trip. Kanukawa said Kawas would have said something in advance if that was the case, but still, Shurkimi insisted that Kawas would have had an accident on the mountain. Ajiki mentioned that Kawas was not always interested in outdoor activities in the first place, which made Shurkimi think Ajiki was taking sides with Kanukawa. However, Ajiki clarified he was just telling the truth. He then mentioned that Shurkimi had been acting hysterical for some time, which made her shut up. Okaya mentioned that Kawas might have been killed, which scared them all, but he clarified it was just a possibility. He added that there might be a chance that Kawas might be interested in outdoor activities, warning them to be careful since there might be someone coming after them with unjustified resentment. As they all went back to school, Shurkimi commented on how Okaya was different from people who deny alternative possibilities. However, she realized she couldn't find her gym clothes. Shurkimi asked Kanugawa for help, but he dismissed her as being noisy. In frustration, Shurkimi pushed Kanugawa's bag away, and her gym clothes fell out of it, surprising her. Kanugawa accused Shurkimi of trying to set him up, but she insisted he stole her gym clothes, leading to an argument. Kanugawa denied stealing her clothes and mentioned the incident with Nagar to prove Shurkimi was framing him. Despite calming down briefly, Shurkimi continued to accuse Kanugawa of stealing her clothes, even involving other students to be witnesses. Before Shurkimi could complete her statement, Maria entered, confirming that Kanugawa did not steal her clothes, as he was with her the whole time. Kanugawa explained he was having a conversation with Maria and couldn't have stolen Shikimi's clothes. Shurkimi still insisted he was guilty, but Kanugawa made it clear he was with Maria before entering the cooking classroom, with no chance to steal the clothes. As Shurkimi realized she might be seen as the perpetrator rather than the victim, she accused another student, describing him as an otaku loner who always carried around anime goods, making him look like the one who stole her gym clothes. She was being told not to be too harsh, as she then began to suspend the student who said that also, and added that if they are unable to find the culprit there will be more victims. But then there was a whisper which said that Shurkimi was the one stirring things up, and this made her get angry even more. Some people were saying that Shurkimi was the real culprit, since the same thing happened to Nagar. As the argument continued, Maria told them all to stop. She said there was no evidence of who the real culprit was, and there is no evidence that Shurkimi put the clothes in Kinugawa's bag. This made her say they should all stop suspecting each other. Maria moved close to Shurkimi and told her to stop suspecting her friends. She added that if she continued such, she might end up being lonely. She then led her to let things go that day. But as Shurkimi heard that she would be lonely, she ran out of the class, and Maria said she would go after her. As she then told the other students to get ready for their gym class, Shurkimi was remembering some past moments where she never felt lonely. She was declaring that she was not a loner, but then Maria showed up and stopped her. Shurkimi mentioned that it was all her fault, and this made Maria regard her as a pitiful child. Then she went away after Maria called out Kinugawa and made him late for class. She took Shik's gym clothes and placed them in Kinugawa's bag. That was all she did to make such a scene happen, and it all went well. Mari was being quite skeptical. Shurkimi went to meet up with the man who does hook him up, but then Shurkimi was being moody and was told that Maria was just jealous of her youth and cuteness. As they discussed a bit, Shurkimi was told that there is someone he wants her to hook, and she is the only one he could assign such a task to. This made Shurkimi agree to do the job, but in exchange, she requested that Maria get punished. The school principal appreciated everyone for their hard work in the spring as he was trying to motivate them all to work hard together till the summer break. And then each year, Maria went to meet at Tsujika and Shurkimi, the homeroom teacher. As she volunteered to pour him a drink, he made it clear that he was not a drinker. Maria asked Etsuji if he was worried about Shurkimi, and this made Etsuji mention that Maria did see through everything. Maria told the principal that he had some lint on his back, as she volunteered to help him get rid of it, and told him to sit and face the other way. But as he faced the other way, Maria exchanged the drinks poured for Etsuji with water, and he was able to drink them all up. The principal was busy flirting with Maria, mentioning that they had a lot of amazing teachers in the school, and that their school would soon become popular. Maria could see how happy everyone was, as it just seemed that Kawa's incident never happened. After a while, Maria was ready to leave as Etsuji went to meet her, and then thanked her for changing the drinks. But Maria, deep down, was telling him not to thank her since she was not the kind of person he thinks she was. As Mari was heading home, at some point, she noticed the presence of some people but continued her journey. Suddenly, an attack was made, but it never met her, and then the person behind it showed up, and it was the man Shurkimi reported Maria to. He commented that Maria looks much prettier than in photos. Maria asked who they were, but the man was more concerned with Maria's body structure. As he mentioned that her melons are, Maria was ready to leave, and then was stopped by one of the men there. The man Shurkimi reported Maria to have moved close to her as he asked her to enjoy her day off together the following day. But as he touched her, Maria attacked him, and then she ran as fast as she could, and then they were all ordered to catch her. The chase began as they were chasing her, but before anything she had hit herself and waited for the right moment to attack. One of the men running after her was quite fast, but his colleagues were telling him not to go alone. He refused, and then he was found dead by his mate. As the colleague saw this, he was also attacked and killed. But as he was packing her things, she was attacked by the gang leader and fell on the ground. Then he used the baseball stick with him to open up Maria's blouse. He was saying that he hates people who show their fans at him, and then requested the size of her bosom. Shurkimi was in her room expecting a reply from the man she reported Maria to, but she was feeling that he was busy dealing with Maria with the money. But then she heard footsteps as she tried to check, thinking it was her mother, but then she found nothing. As she then went to lock the door, thinking she never locked it in the first place, but as she was about to lock it she saw Maria. Arya took Shurkimi to an isolated place, then tied her, telling her not to make a move, and then she wanted to get started. Shurkimi was really angry as she asked what Maria was doing and added that she would not go scot-free for that. But Maria threatened her by wanting to cut the rope she tied her with, but she was stopped. Maria assured Shurkimi that she would not die even if she fell, but then she made it clear that the area where they were was a place deep in the mountains and was a place far from civilization. If Shurkimi fell, she would land at the bottom of the cold insect and fed well, and she would spend her whole life there alone. Shurkimi was wondering what was wrong with Maria, and then Maria mentioned that they should start with the topic at hand as she talked about the men Shurkimi sent at her, who seemed quite easy for her. As she could remember, when she was captured by the leader of the men sent, she told him that they would catch a cold outside. As she said this, she kissed him, and Monet felt intensified when the man mentioned that there was a hotel that had run out of business that they could use to have a nice time together. But before anything, Maria asked the man who sent him, and that was when she realized that it was Shurkimi. Maria added that the man was a low-value man, which she could relate to the fact that it is always said that birds of the same feather flock together. But still, Shurkimi would not listen, and this made Maria mention that she and Kaz don't have an inkling of their own sins. And this was when Shurkimi realized that Maria was responsible for Kaz's disappearance. Maria told Shurkimi that she had led people into the depths of their loneliness, and that was the same reason why he would plunge her into the same pit of despair. Maria went ahead to set a candle near the rope, as she added that in 3 hours' time the rope will catch the flame in the candle, and then she will be plunged into darkness and live the rest of her life in solitude. And then she wanted to grant her a chance at repentance, just like Ka, as she mentioned that she would allow her to contact a single person and tell them a single sentence, but she was not allowed to call for help or tell anyone about her circumstances. Shurkimi saw this as a disadvantage for Maria, but as she checked the phone closely, she could see that there was no SIM card on it and she would not be able to send anything with it. But Maria told her that she removed the SIM while they were moving, making Shurkimi feel quite uneasy and not understand what Maria was thinking about. Maria went ahead to bring a box. She showed it to Shurkimi as she mentioned that the SIM had been mixed with a cutter knife, which made Shurkimi much more angry. Shurkimi was told to get the SIM card from the box, but she was told to do it as soon as she could so she will be able to contact her friends to avoid the rope from catching a flame from the candle, but Shurkimi never understood what was happening. But then she was told that she need no explanation for what was happening, and with this she was left with no choice but to do it. But as she was trying to, she was cut by the cutter knife present there, but she was wondering why such thing was happening to her. But then she was told to stop playing the victim as she added that Shik's undoing was a mere reflection of her own conduct. And as she heard this, she tried to remember where she had seen such situation before, as she could remember that it was Nagar she made to do such thing by looking for key with his tongue in a box filled with points. As she could remember then that she was saying that she trained Nagar twice, and he was able to do it better. On remembering this, Shurkimi asked Maria if she knew what happened to Nagar, but she wondered how she knew since Maria only joined their school during the winter, making her ask who Maria was. After a while, Escalation got to know that Maria was Nagar's mother. Maria was quite surprised as she was aware that Kais had no idea who she was before dying, and this was when Shurkimi got to understand that all that was happening was all about revenge, as he was thinking of letting Akaya know of this, and this made her begin to look for the SIM card in the middle of the cutter knife. After a while of searching, she found the SIM card, but her mouth was filled with blood and cut from the cutter knife. Shurkimi looked at Maria and asked if she was scared since she was able to find the SIM card. Maria collected the SIM, and Shurkimi was now wondering who she could contact. Shurkimi thought of contacting Kinukawa, since they had known each other since kindergarten, but she was sure that he would leave her message on read since he was sulking now due to the argument that they had. She also thought of Aiki, but he was not the right choice since he just goes at his own pace and will take his sweet time to reply to her message. All this left her with the option of contacting Aya only since he was the only one she could count on. Shurkimi was wondering what she would tell Ai to make him come to her. Since she could only send a single sentence, she had to pick her words carefully. As she thought of it, she thinks that if she should tell Aya that she wants to meet him, he will only ask for the reason why, and that will be the end, as she could see that the condition was for her to talk to him like she always does. But as she checked her phone and her chat with Aya, she could see some conversations that she had never had with Aya. Shurkimi thought of it that Aya never cared about him, but she knew that he never hated her, because if he does, he would have not been nice with her, and he also hang out with her sometime. And she thought of it that if she was able to send the correct message, Araya would be able to notice and realize that all that was happening was all about revenge, and when he was able to get the message sent, they will all come to save her. But she knew that she was always being left in Renak, and her wonder if Aya like her ass. She was thinking of telling Aya to come immediately if he likes her, but then Shurkimi refused to choose Aya, which made Maria see that Shurkimi was ready to die, then to realize that Aya did not like her, But then Shirkimi was telling Maria to act any way she wants now because the man who assaulted her never say no to money, as she added that Maria will not be able to escape, but to her surprise Maria had taken care of the mask case as she showed Shirkimi the message the man sent. Since he was angry at Shirkimi, Maria told Shirkimi that after she tamed the man, she showed him a Twitter post and mentioned that she knew of his name from the post from Shirkimi, whose content was that she got a little pay from him, but Maria explained that it was a fake account created by her to impersonate Shirkimi and that her plan moved forward, but Shirkimi regarded this as cheating as she asked Maria why she did that. She told me that it was because she was a selfish liar, and compared to friends, she believes in ties that are connected via profit, and because she manipulates people with lies. Maria mentioned that no one believes in her, as she never believed in anyone, which was why she was being told that she made herself a loner. As Shirkimi saw that she had no other chance, she told Maria that she would soon be sent to where Nugger was. After a while, the rope caught fire and was cut off, dropping Shirkimi into the empty well, but as she landed inside, she was still conscious, which made Maria feel a sarcastic pity that Shirkimi would be taken care of by the insects there. Within a few minutes, the insects in the empty well all rubbed up as they covered up Shirkimi. This was done, and Maria sat and commented that it was too late. Chikami was said to have ties with Kai Gangstar, and there is a possibility that she was caught up in trouble with them due to the connection. On the other hand, Kawis, who was found missing, was Shikimi's classmate, making there be a connection between the cases. Inspector Ruji mentioned that no one should get in the way of the Section 1 investigation. Detective Nagar and his colleagues were heading to the school as Nagar was told that he was still being hated, but Nagar, on the other hand, was still surprised by the fact that he was not being treated badly, even though they all heard of the rumor that he was treating his family badly 2 years ago. Nugger's career had been forced to a dead end due to the rumor of the abuse of the deceased Kirataka, and he was still getting mistreated by his peers even though the suspicion had ended. It has caused an increase in the number of days he was unable to go home, and with the mistreatment, his wife divorced him, but he pleaded as much as he could, stating to her that it had caused an increase in the number of days he was at that time. They needed each other the most, but his wife refused as much as he could, stating to her that it was at that time they needed each other the most. Maria was at home as she prepared her food and also some portions for Kirataka, and then she blessed the food. Nugger and his colleague arrived at the school and went to meet with the principal and Shirkimi homeroom teacher, but the principal claimed that he heard nothing about the suspicious act of Shirkimi and asked the homeroom teacher. He claimed that he knew about it but never stopped her, as he wished that he had paid more attention to it earlier, but Nugger was telling him that he needed not to worry about it since he could not change the past, and all he could do was accept the pain and the regret and then continue living life suffering from the guilt. The homeroom teacher was asked where she heard the rumor, as he mentioned that it was from the school nurse, A.K. Bosi. As the homeroom teacher said this, Detective Mega remembered his wife's name written on her marriage certificate, but he was trying to convince himself that it was not his wife since there are a lot of people with the surname A. Bosi, and the homeroom teacher also made it known that Mirai said she heard the rumor from other students as well as all these questions were answered. They thought of heading back to the station, but then Detective Nugger asked where A. Bosi was at the moment, which was a surprise to his colleague. Detective Nugger was taken to the infirmary, but as he opened the door it was empty, and just then he was told that Mary went on vacation, but then he was asked if they should contact her for him, but he told them that there was no need. Maria went back to where she killed Shirkimi, and she went ahead to pour more dirt on her to cover her up as she got to know that there were only 3 of them left. Maria was sure that she would not be able to predict the students' conduct during the summer holidays, which was a reason why she decided to lay low until the next semester. Since it is almost time that Aya and the rest realize that they are being targeted, and they will start to be on guard. The reason why she killed Ka and Shirkimi was all because they have a timid nature and might run away. But the remaining 3 will never run away, and she was really sure that Alea would unite them all and then launch a counterattack. She was also sure that the police would finally place their foot down and move into action by now, but she was ready for them to come at her. A man was being attacked as he was asked if he knew the whereabouts of the Kagangstar and Shirkimi with them, but he refused to answer. But then he was beaten, and a shoe with thorns was used to pierce his body and face, but he kept on claiming that he had no idea where they were. As he added that Ima had been working alone ever since he left their group, and he also mentioned that Ima had always recruited in the dark recruitment web when he needed to answer, but then And it was all because he could buy dumbass who will work for dirt cheap without understanding the risk that comes with it. Shurikimi was said to have always been a dumbass ever since she was 7 years old, and she engaged in things such as putting her thumbs in the shoes of girls she did not like. But still, Kinukawa claimed that Shurikimi was his friend. Aya showed up as he was teasing Kinukawa by asking him if he would like to take some ice cream, but Kinukawa was still angry as he mentioned that their friends had been killed at this ma. Aya asked Kinukawa if they should have killed the man they were questioning in the heat of the moment, since he did not mind if they did. But he made it clear that the actual revenge would most probably be delayed after a calm atmosphere. Kinukawa was calm as he apologized to Aya, but he was told not to worry about it, and the ice cream was given to him. Aya and Kinukawa went out to meet Aiki as Aya mentioned that they should not focus too much on the K-gangsters since Shurikimi had no idea where Kas was, and Kasi, on the other hand, might have nothing to do with the quasi-gangsters. As Aya said this, Kinukawa asked if he had any idea of who might kill them both, but as Aya thought of it better, he assumed that the only people who Knight actually wants to kill will probably be Kaka's parents. It has been a week ever since Maria killed Shurikimi, but she had a little pony of concern left, which was the K-gangsters, since Maria never expected that Shurikimi would send a gangster at her, which caused a great miscalculation. And with that, Maria had connections with EA, which was her concern because if he was to be caught by the police, she would be considered in the line of investigation. Maria once tried to kill Ima, but then she could feel that her son was telling her not to. But instead of killing him, she thought of eliminating any form of concern. Ever since Shurikimi had been killed, Ima had not gone home, and there is a chance that Ima would run away due to the fact that Shurikimi is already considered Mia infested by his own crime being exposed. She decided to find Ima before the police did, so she proceeded to the club where Ima always conducts his trade, which could mean that the club was his workplace. Maria was wondering where she should look for Ima if he doesn't show up, but as she entered the club, some guys walked to her and requested that she have a dance with her, but she rejected and mentioned that she was occupied, which made them feel disappointed and rejected. But suddenly she could feel that someone touched her, and as she turned to confirm who it was, she was really surprised to see that it was Kinukawa. And Kinukawa asked her what she came to do there as Maria was asked what she was in the club. She mentioned that clubs are for adults and minors like Kinukawa should not be there. Kinukawa was still shocked since Maria was not someone that would hang out in a club. Kinukawa thought that Maria was the last person that went after Shiki after the Gym City issue, as he then asked Maria what she said to Shurikimi. Maria could see that Kuka was behaving out of presumption and self-righteousness, but she also saw that he had solid instincts. But she viewed it as an act. It would be risky if she gave him a direct response, and it may also be harmful. Maria lied about what she told Shurikimi, but she refused to remain silent on the matter. And as Kinukawa inquired if she was listening, Maria burst into tears, stating it was all her fault because Shurikimi was accusing everyone because she was worried about her gym clothes being taken and everyone being suspicious of her. And that was when Maria stepped in to desolate the situation because if she became so suspicious of everyone she would be accused of things she never did, which was what she wanted Shikami to understand. As she chased after her, she mentioned that she told her that if she goes on that way she will be very miserable. And she added that Shurikimi might have taken her words so harsh even though she wanted to help, but she ended up hurting her. But as Maria was really crying, Kinukawa apologized as he mentioned that he knew she was looking out for both him and Shurikimi. And it was not his intention to make her cry since he only wanted to know what Shurikimi said before she disappeared. Maria was relieved when Kinukawa explained that what he asked was based on instinct. She then asked Kinukawa if he knew where Shurikimi went, but he said it wasn't her concern. Adia then appeared to be concerned, claiming to be a teacher and wanting to find Shurikimi as well, as the police were unable to assist. But then Kinukawa was taken aback when he saw a man with Ima's haircut approach and attack him. But as he checked his face, he got to know that it was Jima as he complained that the man had a misleading hairstyle. Maria came to meet Kinukawa as she was telling him not to fight, and their aim was to look for Shurikimi and the rest, but Kinukawa was really angry as he mentioned that his friends had been killed as the only thing left for him was to kill the killer. Kinukawa was the type of person that could not be stopped when he got angry, as it was remembered that he was nice to his friends as he collected a game from a student. He bullied and gave it to his friend, claiming he does not play games. But as he was heading back, The student he collected the game from stopped him and requested his game, claiming his father bought it for him. But then Kinukawa attacked him and claimed that the student said he would give it to them. But as the student claimed that he would not give it to them but just lend, Kinukawa hopped on his stomach, as he then strangled him. Kinukawa was always being nice to his friends, but no one could stop him when he's mad. Back at the club, a worker approached Kinukawa and informed him of what would happen to those who fought in their club. But before he could finish his sentence, he was attacked, and Maria realized they were making too much of a scene and that someone could call the police. But then a voice said that a passage needed to be cleared since the police had arrived, prompting Kinukawa to run as fast as he could. But when Maria saw who the police were, he realized it was her husband, Nugger. But as Nugger was chasing after Kinukawa, he tripped and fell, but it was one of the people in the club that made him feel. But as he was about nagging, his colleague showed up, and then Nagar apologized for letting Kinukawa escape, and his colleague told him not to worry since it was just a usual scuffle and the victim was not hurt badly. Nagar remembered that there was a woman with Kinukawa, but they claimed they had no idea since it was too dark. But then Nagar was told that Ima had been found. As Maria got home, she went straight to have her bath. He was wondering why Nugger, her husband, was there, but she remembered that the club was EA's base and there were chances that Nugger would get in her way. It was announced in the news that a body was found in the K Mountain, and the police had identified the body with the investigation. Ijima Haruto, a 25-year-old guy, and the police were reported to be shaping the narrative of the future investigation into the case as an intentional homicide. The investigation team estimates that Ijima died around a week ago, and he was also observed on a security video in town about 9 p.m. a week ago. There was no evidence of him returning home after that, thus it was thought that he was slain sometime after 9 p.m. that night. While doing further investigation of Ijima's home, numerous pieces of evidence of his criminal dealings were found. He would take longer than expected to narrow him down. Detective Nagar inquired about Ijima's activities prior to 9 p.m. The police officer stated that Ijima had been seen leaving his house around 5 p.m. Still, it appears that he avoids being photographed on purpose, despite the fact that there are fewer cameras in town as a result of population decline. Cameras still exist, Nagar assured the cop next to him as he wrote down that Ijima's deliberate avoidance of the camera that night may be evidence that he was engaging in criminal activity. Ijima's body was discovered shortly after Shirkimi went missing, implying that the two incidents are somehow linked. He urged the cops to let them go and asked the residents what Ijima was doing in town before 9 p.m. The principal was laying his head on Maria's lap while she was tickling his ear with a small pin. She wondered why she did not kill Ijima, as Ijima should still be alive then from Kinukawa's reaction. Ajiki's group wasn't the culprit either. Ijima may have enemies, but the timing of his death is too perfect to brush it off as a coincidence. Maria thought that she fought while keeping the placement of the security cameras in mind, which made her wonder if the culprit was still at the scene and also if the culprit knew her. The principal told Maria she seemed tired, so she asked if she looked tired, thinking that even the Holy Mother needed her rest. But the principal continued telling her they should take a break in and with an open-air bath in the guest rooms away from the stupid kids and teachers, and that the two could heal each other's fatigue. As he says this, Maria immediately sees Nagare's face on her lap instead and stabs the principal's ear. She stood up wearing her jacket, and the principal screamed in pain, holding his ear and calling her. But Maria looked at him, telling him to excuse her, with the principal shocked about the situation. She glanced at him once again as he called her, thinking within her that it's already too late, remembering all the days of sucking his eggplant and having some stupid nice time with him. She looked at her reflection on a window and with tears on her face, told him to be gone, calling him a coward. Kinukawa was painfully asking Asima rhetorically who permitted him to die off alone. Atsuji added that it was excellent that they found Ijima, as he thought Kinukawa would find him first. He continued, saying that if Asima's murderer were the one who killed Shirkimi and Kawis, then that would make things a lot worse. Okaya watched on his phone how a random person's dog dug Ijima's body up during their morning walks, as he thought the method was cruel. Atsui said Ijima's murder was a separate issue. As expected, Okaya told him that the timing was too close and that he should consider it separate. Atsuji asked if it was an accomplice that did it without consent, to which Okaya answered that if it were an accomplice, The traces would have been erased like what they did with Kirataka, like crushing their bones to leaving no evidence, or at least burying the corpse somewhere deep in the mountains where no one would ever enter. Okaya stated it appeared to him that the perpetrator was a complete amateur because they buried the corpse beside the road, making it appear like a warning. When Itsuji asked if he meant that the case is unrelated to it, Okaya dropped his phone, saying it doesn't matter which one. Atsuji inquires about what he believes they should do next. Okaya responds that if someone knew what they did, it would be wrong, as he cannot imagine what the perpetrator would say if caught. However, if they were their intended target, Okaya reasoned that the perpetrator would want to avoid being apprehended by authorities in the first place. And if an accomplice hadn't committed the recent murder, they would probably have been on edge at that moment. He picked up his phone, saying it could be a chance for them. A third party emerged. Maria was thinking that if Asima were killed due to a personal grudge, there wouldn't be an issue. Still, the period of his disappearance would only serve to benefit her as she had come into contact with him before killing Shirkimi. She continued thinking that the occurrence must have something to do with her revenge. The culprit knew the relationship between them, and for some reason, he decided to commit the crime to conceal it. Then there's a possibility that the culprit would also try to come in contact with her. Just as she was thinking, Yima-san knocked on the door, asking if she might have a bit of her time. Maria asked if she would like to take the day off was okay as she was sweating profusely. Still, she rejected the offer, saying she had supplementary classes that day and informed Maria that she had something to say but had been hiding it for a long time. She informed Maria that she was near the location when Kawis went missing and Maria was taken along, wondering whether she had been seen and if she was aware of all that had happened. She added that they were together at the time and that she was afraid of being a suspect, so she didn't say anything to the police. Maria held her head in her chest as she prepared to resume talking, reassuring her and assuring her that everything was well. So, she told her that it would be a secret just between them. The girl asked why Maria was so kind, telling her she knew it all along. Still, Maria told her that though she was threatened, she was the one who shoplifted, and even so, she had already paid a heavy price for it. But Yima did not accept. She insisted that she was still a bad child, wishing that Kawis would never be found again as she had been having terrible thoughts. After Yima let out her mouth, she thought it was evident that they would have become twisted if one were to become such a victim. Killing isn't that far off the table either. At the amusement park, the bully leader was on a call, telling the other person he was so funny. The vendor then asked whether he had a point card. Points cannot be added after confirmation. Still, he did not respond, instead collecting the receipt. He asked the snack vendor why he didn't get any points, and she informed him that she had explained the system to him. Fiercely, he asked the vendor whether she was attempting to start a fight with him while holding a sharp object. The vendor's hand shivered as he told her to say something. She thought to herself to slice his throat clean but instead apologized to him, and he told her that she should have said that from the start. During all this, she bent her head down under the table. As she raised her head, she heard a voice saying she had questions about Ijima Haruto's incident. She was further surprised when the person mentioned that she was a former student of St. Spring Middle School second year Class A and asked if she could kindly fill her in, unrevealing the other victim, mentioning her name Yuda Akihiro Kuen.